Hi, I'm Richard Maraj, Senior Minister at Unity of Phoenix Spiritual Center, and I want to thank you for visiting our website and for tuning in to today's message. If you feel inspired by today's talk, I really encourage you to make a donation by hitting that button below and making a contribution to this ministry. It'll allow us to continue these messages online and to do the great work we do here at Unity of Phoenix, which is to inspire people to live better lives. So thanks for tuning in, thanks for your support, and we hope to see you at a Sunday real soon.
'Twas the day after Christmas, and all through the house, everyone was exhausted, even the mouse. The toys were all broken, the batteries dead. Santa passed out with some ice on his head. Wrapping and ribbons just covered the floor, while upstairs the family continued to snore. And I, in my t-shirt, new Reeboks and jeans, went into the kitchen and started to clean. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from the sink to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew in a flash, tore open the curtains and threw up the sash, when what to my wandering eye would appear but a little white truck with a really big mirror. The driver was smiling so lively and grand, and on the patch of his jacket it said, U.S. Postman. With a handful of bills, he grinned like a fox, then quickly stuffed them in our mailbox. Bill after bill after bill, they still came, whistling and shouting. He called them by name. Now Nordstrom's, now Dillard's, now Walmart and Macy's, Best Buy and Mervyn's and Target and Penny's. To the top of your limit, every store, every mall, charge away, charge away, charge away all. He whooped and he whistled as he finished his work. He filled up the box and he turned with a jerk. He sprang to his truck and drove down the road, driving even faster with just half a load. Then I heard him exclaim with great holiday cheer, enjoy what you bought, you'll be paying all year. Woo! All right. So now that Christmas is past, it means that this year is coming to an end, and we will be starting a new year. So I think I know the answer, but how many people are ready to start a new year? Ready for 2020? Okay. And how many people are just thrilled to be over 2019? Anybody a little happy to be over it? You know, we often get excited about the current year ending, and even more excited that the new year is starting. And I think that pattern of wanting the new year, the old year to end and the new year to begin is one that's kind of surprising, and I don't think always the healthiest. We just want to get rid of it. I always find it amazing that we get excited about the new year, and then 11 months later, the very same year, we just want it to be over. Sometimes living it's a bad year, tough year, horrible year. Let me just get a new one. Let me get a fresh start. And while that's certainly understandable to a certain extent, I think that pattern of just wanting to get it over with and starting a new one sometimes robs us of the beauty, of the insights, of the wisdom, and deeper levels of meaning. And for us, you know, being and becoming more of who we came here to be. You know, Socrates once said, the unexamined life is not worth living. And what he really means is life is so precious and worth living, it behooves us to take some time to look at how we're living it. It behooves us to take time for some self-reflection, some self-contemplation, some self-awareness, to look at how we're showing up, to look at how we're engaged, how we relate and how we interact with ourselves, with others, and with our world. You know, just a week ago, or even less, we lit a candle at the candlelighting service to ignite that Christ light in us. And really what it was igniting a light to continue the unfolding of our soul, to continue our spiritual journey and our path. You know, getting a new year just doesn't bring you every new thing. We have to develop a new consciousness, a new mindset. It isn't just changing the outer. We need to continue that inner transformation to expand into the fullness of the amazing spiritual being we came here to be. This talk was originally entitled New Year's Review and Preview. Then it got changed to Finish Strong. And then it got changed again to How to Make the Most of the Year. You'll have to decide what the title is by the time I finish it. But I do think it's an important part of our spiritual process is to look at how we end things and how we begin. And we will look particularly at how we end this year and how we begin the new year. You know, the first thing I think we need to do to make the most of this year is to look back and make peace with the things that didn't go well. Look back at the things that were painful and difficult. Look back at the areas maybe where we wanted something to happen and it didn't happen and we were disappointed. To make peace with those struggles. And one of the Beatitudes is, blessed are the peacemakers. When I first heard that, I thought, oh, peacemakers, people who make peace with other people and communities and their families, countries. But I realized blessed are the peacemakers really means blessed are those who make peace with themselves. Who make peace with what's struggling and what's going on with themselves. You know, when things don't go well for us, we have a few ways to respond. One is with judgment and hatred and anger and disappointment. And the other one is avoidance and diminishing and pretending. And either one of them fits into a larger category called just resisting. Resisting and fighting against what really happened. You know, and sometimes, you know, that can cause us a lot more pain than we realize. There's a woman I know that went to see a therapist for her relationship with her dad that wasn't very good. And after a few sessions, you know, the therapist said to her, you know, I think at some point you really need to find some acceptance about where your relationship is with your dad. And she got mad and said, what kind of therapist are you? You want me to just settle and give in, that this is how it is? And then over time she realized that it wasn't just the pain of the relationship not going well, but the pain she was inflicting of trying to control something that was beyond her control. Trying to make something different than what it was. You know, acceptance is an important thing in terms of if we want to experience a level of peace or make progress. If we're stuck fighting it, judging it, being angry about it, hating it, wishing it didn't happen, we're not going to find the peace or make the progress. So in 2019, what was it that you have hated or resisted? What is it that you're having a hard time accepting? And what is it that you need to make peace with before we could really move on into the new year? Here's the thing about acceptance, because it gets this idea that it just means settling and giving up. Acceptance, there are three things about it. Number one, it doesn't mean that you like what happened. It doesn't mean that you don't grieve or feel the pain. That is not what it means. It means letting go of the resistance and the anger and hatred about it, not dealing with the feelings or having to like it. The second thing about acceptance is it's a process. It's not a one-shot deal. You know, it needs to be practiced, you know, on a regular basis, acceptance. And then the third one is acceptance doesn't mean that you still don't improve or want to improve the area. So it's just about letting go of the anger, the hatred, the resistance, the judgment about it, and actually just dealing with what's going on. In Alcoholics Anonymous, Big Book, page 417, it says this: acceptance is the answer to all my problems today. When I am disturbed, it is because I find some person, place, thing, or situation, some fact of my life unacceptable to me. And I can find no serenity until I accept that that person, that place, that thing, or that situation is exactly as it is supposed to be at this moment. Nothing, absolutely nothing happens in God's world by mistake. Until I could accept my alcoholism, I could not stay sober. Unless I accept my life completely on life's terms, I cannot be happy. I need to concentrate not so much on what needs to be changed in the world as what needs to be changed in my life and in my attitude. And so the question is, you know, what is it that you need to make peace with? And what is it that you still have not had a place to find acceptance that has happened for you in 2019? And the fact is, it's not easy, it's not simple, and it's not quick. But it's important work if we want to find peace. It's important work if we want to move forward and make true progress and really discover a deeper level of joy, happiness, and meaning for our lives. The second thing about making this the most of this year is to look back on the things and to appreciate and celebrate all the good stuff and all the things that went well in our lives. You know, sometimes we take things for granted so often that sometimes we'll let one or two things that happen overshadow, diminish, or keep us blind to how much good stuff is actually happening in our lives. You know, you ever had like a day where like all kinds of good things were happening? You were in the flow, in the groove, meeting people, connecting, and then you're at the grocery store, and then some checkout person was really snotty to you, and you go on. The rest of your day is good, and things are going well, and then you get to bed and you lay there, and what do you think of? That snotty cashier. And it seems ridiculous, but sometimes we could let one thing that didn't go well ruin a whole day, week, or even life of things that do go well, that are going well. 1 Thessalonians, it says this, in all things give thanks, for this is God's will for you. And what that means, that in all things give thanks, means to recognize the good that's always there. Don't just wait till everything's going your way to be grateful, that there's always things, blessings, ways that we feel supported and loved. So many things always going good in our lives, and sometimes we're blind to them. We don't even recognize them, appreciate them, or enjoy them, and certainly not always celebrating them. The word heaven means expansion, and as we expand our awareness, to the beauty and the goodness in life, or expand our heart and love, that's a heavenly experience. The word Hades, the word hell comes from Hades, which means to be blind. It is a hellish experience when we cannot see the good and the love and the beauty in our lives. One of our favorite parables is Jesus and the loaves and fishes. And here's a situation where there wasn't enough. And what does he do? He gives thanks and recognizes the good that was there. Not putting focus on what wasn't there, what wasn't enough, but putting focus on all the good that was there. This has been a challenging year for me physically. Not being able to stand, hurting my shoulder, hurting my knee, and my heel. And I've been in that chair sitting a lot this year, and I've worked from home a lot this year. And I love my house, but not that much. And so to try and look at what other things to appreciate about that situation. And one of them is I got to spend more time there looking out in my backyard and being in my backyard. And and observing the animal life in my backyard. And I am so not an animal guy. I'm telling you, I'm not into cats, dogs, let alone other wildlife. And so in April, I found this rabbit in my backyard, and his leg was broken off, and it was just flopping around. And I saw the little guy, and my heart just went out to the little guy. And I knew he'd be vulnerable, maybe like a coyote, something come and eat him, and I really wanted to protect him. So I called Jim, who's our landscape guy, and he helped me catch it and put it in a cage. And we put it in a cage right by my patio, and every day I'd feed it, like carrots and celery or whatever it would eat. And I'd just, have chat with him. I just called him Rabbit. I didn't want to get too close. I did not. And like every day, and I started like looking forward to seeing this little rabbit. And then I called a wildlife preserve, and they came to pick it up, and I felt like my heart was breaking, letting them go. And even said to them, hey, when you fix up his leg, could you bring him back? I'll take care of him. I'll take care of him. And they said, no, we take wildlife. We don't bring it back. And so, but I'll tell you, that was an experience. It might be simple, but something I so appreciate because it opened my heart in a way it hadn't before. Well, then the animal thing continued. A couple weeks later, I'd had this ongoing fighting thing with this squirrel because he walks around like he owns the joint. And he actually broke into my house and was running and playing up in the roof. And then when we got that sealed up, started digging holes in the backyard. And I saw him once prop himself up on this patio chair, surveying his territory. And I saw that. And I just was staring daggers at him. So we had a little thing going on. You ever see like a grumpy old man always looking out at a thing to see if some kid's walking on his grass? That was me. I was always looking to see where that thing is. So clearly I had to do some healing work and making peace with that. But then a couple months go by, and I start seeing these little squirrels running, zipping across the back wall, running down the wall, round the bush, back up on the thing. And they looked like they were having so much fun. Somehow I transformed. I started looking out and just seeing if I could see them and play, and they were so fun. And I had a moment with one of them. We caught each other's eye, and I could feel my heart open. I even said the words, mi casa, su casa. That's how much I had changed. And then so fast forward to like October, November. So I had like a couple of setbacks with this heel thing, and I'm feeling a little down and frustrated. And I hadn't seen the squirrels. There was a lot of rain. Hadn't seen them for a while. And I was thinking about them. And then one of them came out, and I thought he was going to run across the wall. So I started getting to the other part so I could watch him more. And it stopped, and I didn't know what happened. And what happened, he went by the shed, and he just sat there. And I looked, and I'm thinking, man, that's a long time for a squirrel to sit still. So I started timing it. It was like more than 3 minutes. And then after a while, he just slipped away, not even running. And it's so funny because I was in a lot of distress. I was feeling kind of down and frustrated. And it was like almost he gave me a little clue to be still, to quiet my mind and calm the storm that was going on inside of me. I found it interesting that with the squirrel relationship started as an adversary, went to being a friend, then a spiritual teacher. It's amazing. And so, so my question is, what in your life this year happened that surprised you and that inspired you and made you smile? Because sometimes it's those little things that make life precious. And we shouldn't gloss over them or just go by them because they're an important part of life. It's important to notice and reflect all the things. So what were some of the highlights of your life this year? What is something that you overcame? What is something that you learned? What was the time you felt the most loved? When did you have your biggest laugh? What made you laugh this year? Where did you travel to that you found captivatingly beautiful? What milestone did you have? Did you turn some big age or celebrate a number of years in sobriety or pass a threshold of number of years in your job? I mean, what surprised you? What person inspired you and had a powerful impact on your life this year? Who did you have a powerful impact on this year? See, sometimes we gloss over those things, and I think it behooves us to look back and to remember and to appreciate and celebrate how great our life is. Don't just label it as a tough year, a bad year, because they're all good years. They just have different dimensions and aspects and textures if we'll pause to appreciate them. The final thing I want to talk about as we look at this year and towards the new year is our attitude. You ever have a server teach wait on you and they had a bad attitude? Somebody in retail? I mean, it's tough being around that kind of energy. It's not fun. You know, I know a guy, I heard of a guy, he had a neighbor that was so negative guy, always had a negative attitude about everything. And he was always trying to get him to say and think something positive, trying to get an expression of something good out of him that was positive or optimistic. And so they were both hunters, and the guy was looking for a bird dog, and he found a bird dog that actually walked on water. And so he thought, oh, great, I'm going to invite my neighbor to go hunting, and then we're going to, I'm going to see, he's got to say something good about a dog walking on water. So they go hunting, and the guy shoots a duck, and a duck lands, and the dog walks on the water, gets the duck, brings it back. And then the guy says to the neighbor, so what do you think of that? And the neighbor said, he can't swim, can he? Attitude, it makes a difference. It makes a difference. And so, somebody once said that the key to success and peace and happiness is in one thing, and that's the quality of our attitude. You know, we could have difficult circumstances, but with a good attitude, we can transform it. And we can have easy and wonderful circumstances, and with a negative attitude, we can get nothing out of it. You know, I always use Nelson Mandela, and I know I overuse him, but it's hard not for me to be inspired by someone being in prison for 26 years, coming out with a loving attitude, an attitude that I'm going to make a positive difference in the world, becoming president of his country, and being considered one of the greatest statesmen in the world. Could you imagine going through that and what kind of attitude he had? Everybody's heard of Brittany Hamilton. She's a young woman. She had her arm bit off by a shark at the age of 13. What an attitude. The next year she came back, she won the nationals. Won it again at 15. You know, skiing for, surfing for more than a decade. What a great attitude. You know, nobody has a perfect attitude all the time. Jesus got angry, flipped tables over, got frustrated and upset, and he wept. It's not about getting it perfect all the time. It's working towards that attitude and developing as best as we can. I saw a thing and it said, ability is the capacity to do, motivation drives us to what we do, and attitude affects how we do it. Attitude is the spirit in which we do all the things we do. We can interact with love and an energy and a positive attitude, or we could do it with a negative, and it does make a difference. To me, to have a good attitude, it's an inside-out and an outside thing. You want to have a good, more positive attitude? Number one thing to do is start with the inside, and the more we connect in silence, the more positively, joyously, spiritually, and more grounded way we will see life, ourselves, situations, in the world. And the other one, Viktor Frankl said that there's one thing no one can take from us, the thing we can always choose, the attitude and mindset that we have. And so if you had to pick one, a mindset to look back on this year, what attitude would you pick? And if you had to pick an attitude to begin the year, what would you pick? Would you pick a hopeful attitude? Robert Louis Stevenson once said, "It is better to travel hopefully than to arrive." Because when you travel hopefully, the whole journey is good. And so would you have a grateful attitude? Would you have a joyful attitude? Would you have a more compassionate attitude? A more relaxed and laid back attitude? A more generous attitude? What kind of attitude would really serve you well and make a difference on how you look back at the year and how you begin the new year? 2019 is about to end. 2020 is about to begin. And we could fall back in that same cycle of wishing it was over and hardly wait to start a new one, or we could do some reflection. Because if we just stay in that old cycle, then like New Year's resolutions, it'll just be in one year and out the other. That's one of those slow release jokes. When you drive home, you're going to bust a gut, I'll tell you. And so, and the fact is, if we want to find more peace, make more progress in our lives, it behooves us to take some time to reflect, to make peace with everything in the year, to appreciate and celebrate all the good, and to take time to adjust and create the best attitude that we can. And that is how you make the most of the year. God bless you all.